With the recent Halo Infinite delay, I've decided to start back up my Halo 5 training camps, and I wanted to make a video or two to help them out and give them sort of a baseline to experiment with and see if they can make some self-improvements with the things I'm going to teach them. I've taken on many students in my time playing Halo, and I've even helped a couple people go from a rank of gold to champ in just a few months. In this guide, we will focus on movement as it's key to getting map positioning, pushing your advantage, and is a huge help in gunfights when used to its full potential. I'll leave in-depth aim training to the pros, but I will teach you practical movement for use in competitive games, and not just fancy skill jumps you'll never use in an actual in-game setting. It's important that you take this guide one piece at a time, and I promise you will improve. You will not be able to do multiple parts at once if you're not used to your layout that I provide. Play a few days on the layout and come back to the guide. To use this information in this guide and see margin in your improvement, I'm going to recommend you play Slayer when you first start your competitive journey, as it will benefit you most to learn these mechanics for that playlist. If you're eager to jump into Team Arena, just think that you're going to need to master Slayer before you move on to Team Arena. Slaying is what makes the game turn in your favor. No matter what game type you're playing, whether it's going to be Capture the Flag, Strongholds, or Oddball, it's important to have a strong slaying profile before you move on to Team Arena and start learning all the game types it encompasses. Remember, the Avatar mastered water before he mastered fire. He didn't just skip straight to it. It's the same analogy for Slayer and Team Arena. Let's start with some settings. You don't need these settings, but these are what I recommend, and I highly recommend them. They may feel weird or uncomfortable for a couple days, but if you've really not improved after playing the game for a long period of time, or you're just now starting out, it's time to get used to a competitive layout and improve yourself. I'm going to split this video up into two sections. One's going to be the basic mechanics, and one's going to be the advanced mechanics. Let's get started with some basic mechanics. You should get in the habit of holding your crouch 100% of the time when you're jumping in Halo 5. 1, it's going to help you clamber objects leading to high vertical to reach, as I'm displaying on the screen right now. 2, your hitbox is smaller in midair when crouching at the peak of your jump. And 3, you're going to look like a threat on the map and look much cooler than when you just regularly used to jump off of things. Thrust is your most important active ability in Halo 5, and has a recharge time of roughly 5 seconds. At first, this ability looks a bit lackluster. Okay, so you can move to any direction you want with a small burst of speed. What's the big deal? Well, when you pair this thrust with either forward movement or against all your forward movement, you can get to places on the map very fast, or stop your movement entirely and hit your opponents with a thrust in the opposite direction of your momentum to throw off their reticle placement. I'll teach you how to most effectively use your thrust throughout this guide. Thrust sliding is the first thing you should ever learn in Halo 5. This cannot be done with toggle crouch on, and that's why in settings we have turned it off. To perform a thrust slide at full power, make sure you have the Spartan charge brackets on the sides of your screen, which means you have full speed, and this is when your momentum is at the max. After you have achieved full speed, press down your thrust button, then your slide directly after. The timing is a little off-putting at first, but give it a few tries and you'll get the hang of it in no time. Thrust sliding and staying grounded will give you much more control of your movement, while adding a jump at the end of your thrust slide will send you much further. But you will have no control of the movement past where your momentum takes you. Thrust sliding is quite possibly the most core movement mechanic in the game. Once you master this, your movement opportunities will branch far and wide, and you'll be pulling off some of those moves you've seen your favorite YouTubers or Twitch streamers do on a daily basis. Once you start getting the timing down on the thrust slide, use it to push your advantage on your opponents in ranked or social and really get a feel for the fast-paced gameplay of Halo 5. In the last section, you heard me say the phrase, pushing your advantage. But what exactly do I mean by this? To put it simply, if you play with any notion of fear or hesitation in Halo 5, you're going to get farmed by players that don't play scared. When someone is one-shot, you shouldn't let them get away if you have a sure way to kill them while also keeping yourself alive. When you first start to learn pushing your advantage, I strongly advise using your thrust slide that you just mastered to close the gap and secure the kill on your enemy every time they're one-shot. You can learn patience later in your Halo journey, but pushing advantage and knowing how to play aggressive when it's needed is one of the most important things in Halo 5. When you first start playing aggressive, don't worry about perfecting the playstyle. That comes later. Focus on your movement and pushing people. Play hyper aggressive even when it gets you killed. When it does get you killed, take note of it, and find a way to play aggressive while avoiding death in the future. After you've mastered the aggressive playstyle, you can start picking the fights you want to take, and choosing which to push and which to leave to your teammates. Don't randomly get into pistol gunfights with no aim assist across the map if a teammate isn't near to clean that player up. Taking useless damage across the map is just going to get you killed by your opponent's teammates who are close enough to clean you up. So what if someone decides to push their advantage against you? Let's say you're one shot. You can feel the other player is about to try to make a play and secure the kill on you. What are you going to do? Always have a counter prepared if someone decides to use a thrust slide or another movement mechanic to close the gap between you two. It is important to note that if you're on the defensive and get pushed, you're most likely weak on shields, but you will have your thrust to use as defense instead of offense. Whereas they will probably have healthy shields, but no movement once they lost their momentum. While we're on the topic of defensive mechanics, let's talk about line of sighting your opponents. It is important to take advantage of every bit of positioning that your opponent grants you. If you know two people are looking at you, you're not going to want to just step out into an open area and try to gunfight one of them. Stick to a cover and fight one at a time. Try and use your thrust sparingly. If you're going to die without using the thrust, then use the thrust. But be mindful the other person is still looking in your direction. When you thrust, you should be thrusting somewhere. They can't shoot you while you're still weak from the first gunfight. Another note about LOS, you can use line of sights anywhere on the map, for offensive and defensive purposes. I leave that up to you guys for how you want to use it. Momentum is a constant in Halo 5. Once you have it until you decide to get rid of it. The ways you get rid of your momentum once the top speed is by crouching, sliding, Spartan charging, shooting, etc. In Slayer, maximum speed will be displayed as 2 bars on the sides of your reticle. This also means you're eligible to perform a Spartan charge. Piggy thrusting and Piggy jumping are 2 mechanics new players use in Halo 5. They do these because they don't know any better. You might be in the same boat if you've never been made aware of the mechanics I've shown you so far. These are habits you want to break as soon as possible. A Piggy thrust happens when someone does not cancel momentum with a slide, and a Piggy jump happens when you jump without canceling your momentum. So, why do I consider these bad habits? When you are sprinting in Halo, your gun isn't up, and it is pointless to hold your sprint momentum while just running around the map and jumping around the map. You will look like a gazelle and be a free kill on the map. If you're not planning on using that movement, go ahead and get rid of it with a slide and stay ready for the fight. As long as you press your sprint button after performing an action that won't cancel your momentum, like a jump, you'll still have the momentum. For instance, here I jump from top yellow at full speed, hold my momentum through the air by Piggy jumping, but then I press my sprint again. As you see, my Spartan charge brackets are still there, meaning I'm at max speed still. After, I simply thrust slide off the pillar. I can also throw a crouch into my movement, and as long as I'm midair and press my sprint before I touch the pillar, I keep my brackets and am able to thrust slide at someone shooting me at glass after I've grabbed the overshield. So you see, as long as you have max speed and momentum, you can thrust slide off of anything in the game. Try this out with a few other objects you see on the map with a flat or slanted surface. Like all things in this guide, they may be awkward at first, but in the end you'll be a better player for learning it. Remember that even though you only see a reticle on your screen, you are still a fully rendered Spartan in-game. Understanding where your entire body is going to be after doing an action in-game is a very important part of mastering the game. This is obviously only achieved through gameplay and time put into the game actively trying to improve. Start taking note of where you are when you start performing an action, such as a thrust slide, and realize where you end up by the time you've completed the action. Try to land on a small ledge without falling off, such as the side of poster stairs above green soda. Doing this consistently will help you understand your movement and how to use it in ranked. An interesting exercise you can do in a custom game by yourself to test your understanding of your Spartan position is to jump between 2 objects and wait to clamber them at the last second. This works on a couple different objects in the game, as you're seeing on your screen right now. Auto-stabilize is useful for getting crazy angles on the map that are unpredictable for gunfighting, but is also used at the highest level to get over obstacles you would normally have to clamber, making it easier for you to get out of a bad situation or get into a better one, or simply catching your enemy off guard with a quick move. Remember that we turned off auto-stabilize in the settings. Essentially, this lets you aim down your sights and jump at the same time without hovering, which is very useful for pushing people across the map when you have to ADS. Also, when you spam your crouch button, it will keep your reticle 100% accurate within SmartLink, as you see me demonstrating here. It is crucial you have auto-stabilize off when doing parkour with SmartLink, as the setting turned off, you can start your hover action whenever you choose as long as you're in the air. This is going to help us get the maximum lift off of your thrust when we combine it with our forward momentum. Activate your SmartLink with whatever your sprint button is when you aim down sights. So for bumper jumper, activate it with the A button while zoomed in. Also, a well-timed SmartLink activation will help you avoid taking the time to do a spring jump in game when you're in a pinch. This goes without saying, but having knowledge of the maps you're on is very important. Knowing where to utilize things like spring jumps, stabilize jumps, and knowing where enemies will be, or how they plan to escape from you when weak, is a huge edge to have. Use your knowledge against people that might not be using it to the full potential. Make explosive barrels one-shot in order to kill unsuspecting Spartans walking through hallways, or even manipulate the enemy team's spawns once you gain more understanding of the game. I'm sure you've heard of spring jumping and have seen its uses. You might have even thought, I'll never learn that, it's too much work, or I'm probably not good enough to learn that. Well, I'm here to tell you that in Halo 5, spring jumping has never been easier, and if you listen to exactly what I'll explain in this guide, you'll perform them 100% of the time without fail. There's two ways to achieve a spring jump on Halo 5. The traditional way and the scoreboard spring jump. While the traditional way is objectively better because it allows you to move your right stick and do a few more movement tricks along the way, the scoreboard way is the most universally practical way to perform a spring jump with a 100% success rate if done right. So that's a method I'm going to teach everyone. As a side note, SmartLink can be used in conjunction with spring jumping and thrusting in different directions in order to do crazy jumps around the map. So it's not something you want to skip over and miss out on. The last thing I want to talk about with spring jumping is how to load a spring jump with your scoreboard. You can load a spring jump and hold it for however long you want as long as your jump button is held down the entire time. Watch as I slow down this jump I just showed you. I hold my spring jump while I'm lodged inside this small space. When I release my scoreboard and jump outwards, my extended jump gets me to the clamber top mid. As you can see in the clips, this is a very easy way to get OV when mastered, and you will rarely mess it up despite the jump looking seemingly difficult. Once you get the hang of spring jumping, try your luck at some crazy jumps like this, or make up your own. They aren't very practical in matchmaking in the normal scenarios, but still fun to do. Alright, I'm going to drop this into two separate segments so you guys can learn how to spring jump no matter what layout you're on. I'm going to explain the general process for anyone not on bumper jumper first, and then I'm going to explain the exact button combo for people that switch to the recommended layout. Alright, let's talk about how to spring jump on any layout. Firstly, hold your jump. I cannot emphasize this enough. Even after you've started your jump, you should still be holding the jump just for practice. So hold the jump button down, whatever yours may be, and while holding the jump button, hold your crouch after pressing your jump. So right now, you should be holding your jump and your crouch at the same time. While holding both of these down, also press the scoreboard button. Now, release your crouch, and then your scoreboard button, all while holding the jump button. I know this sounds complicated, but it's seriously 3 buttons. And once you get it down 4 or 5 times and understand the mechanics, you'll be popping these off in games like it's nothing. You'll be a much better player for it. This is a key mechanic for matchmaking, and you should not be skipping over any of this. This isn't something SmartLink can replace. It has many uses other than Plaza that SmartLink won't help you with. Alright, now we're going to talk about spring jumping on bumper jumper. This is going to be much simpler than doing this on any other layout with the scoreboard method. Hold your LB the whole time. Now hold crouch while continuing to hold your LB down. Take your right thumb off of the right thumbstick and use it to hold the scoreboard. Release crouch while still holding jump. Now release scoreboard. You just performed a spring jump. Another note with spring jumps. You can perform these at any speed and do not need to be in a standstill position. You cannot scoreboard spring jump from the ground. You have to precede your spring jump with a jump or else the action will not perform. As a player that's trying to improve, take every opportunity you can to avoid useless animations as they're just going to slow your gameplay down. You can use a double press of the Y button to cancel grenade animations as soon as you throw the nade. This is useful for getting your gun up and ready faster, and also allows you to sprint directly after you throw a nade. Whereas, there's specific wait time if you do not animation cancel this. You will see a lot of high tier players on stream or in their clips doing this instinctively. You can also animation cancel power-ups with either a clamber, Spartan charge, slide thrust, or thrust slide. Another interesting thing to get an advantage that you can do is Spartan charge your opponent that's contesting you for the overshield while you're still putting it on. Thinking outside the box like this is what's going to make you dangerous and ranked. Last of the basic mechanics, and possibly the most useful of all passive abilities your Spartan has. Clamber has no cooldown as it is a passive ability unlike Thrust. It took me years to get where I am in terms of how to use Clamber in ranked matches, and I still have much to learn because the mechanic is so complex. Clamber is possibly the most effective way to juke someone on Halo 5 while getting your shields back. I played Reach for years, and I always used to use my sprint to juke people. But on Halo 5, they implemented that sprinting stalls your shield regeneration. But not to worry, Clamber is just as effective as a replacement. Clambering multiple objects in quick succession in combination with thrust can get you out of situations fast, all without shopping your shield regeneration. This gets you back in the fight faster rather than just running away and finding a safe corner to get your shields in. We will also discuss the uses of clambering in gunfights in the advanced section at the tail end of the video, but we will leave it here for now. Alright, you're now entering into the advanced mechanics section of the video. I strongly recommend you master the previous section of basic mechanics before entering into or attempting anything seen in the upcoming section. Alright, first and foremost, I want to take this time to tell you that Halo is as much mental as it is mechanical skill. Your mentality will directly affect your gameplay. Play confidently and you'll start to mental block people. Use your movement and holding crouch while midair to look more menacing to your opponents. If you challenge with confidence, and only when the advantage is yours, I promise that you'll start to get in your opponent's head, and the game will snowball in your favor because of it. To benefit from thrusting most in your gunfights, you can shoot a shot out of any semi-automatic weapon in the game while you're performing your thrust. You can essentially hide a shot out of your pistol or DMR behind the animation of your thrust and lose 0 time gunfighting. If you're shooting as you thrust, you have the edge of one-shot advantage in the gunfight as your opponent may not know this mechanic exists, and has to wait for their thrust to be completed as an action before they can perform the action of shooting another pistol shot. Not sure what to call this one, but the first person I saw use this mechanic effectively was a player named Bound, so I'll coin the name after him. Thrust slide isn't always the best way to push your advantage on opponent. Sometimes a slide into a thrust is actually better depending on how far the push ends up being away from your current location. Bouncering is just a small slide before immediately jumping and thrusting directly after. This is the fastest push you can do in a short amount of time and go a medium distance and fly past your opponent's nades. There are many different kinds of strafes you can perform in Halo 5, and they're much more advanced than just moving left to right while you shoot. You'll notice each player has a preference of the type of strafe they like to do most of the time. In this section, we're going to go over all kinds of strafes one by one. This strafe is done by 90% of the Team Arena community at bare minimum Onyx level and below. It is a simple strafe that is benefited most by shot accuracy with little to no thinking involved. This is a simple strafe you can do in one-on-one gunfights if only one player is focused on you. Named after the Halo 3 Pro SK, this strafe is a small left stick movement side to side in rapid succession. You will see most/all top tier Halo players using this strafe as it keeps their thumbs and brains active in the gunfight. This way they can be at the ready to react to the other player's thrust in the gunfight and choose which way to flick their reticle and secure the kill. Pair this strafe with a thrust and you'll look very threatening in the field. My friend group and I call this strafe the Harzo Strafe, because he was the first player in our friend group to master it. It is essentially a backwards thrust once you have been hit 3 to 4 shots off your shield. This strafe throws off many players because they're not used to seeing it. This is my personal favorite strafe in the game. The only thing that may throw you off using the strafe is that you may strafe out of red reticle range. So when you thrust back, you may have to scope your pistol in to get your aim assist back. Sometimes this results in you missing the shot when long range because you peg your stick, but nonetheless, this strafe is still the favorite for me. While walking is a strafe you'll see at the lowest level of gameplay, around gold level and below. I'm considering this a strafe because some people use it at the highest level as a simple means to get a kill. Be careful when using the strafe. It may be easy to get the kill using it, but it is also very easy to shoot, and I don't recommend going into a gunfight with this strafing style. I'm sure you've all heard of crouch strafing, as it is one of the most common kinds of strafes in Halo across all the titles. What most people don't realize is that there's a specific way to crouch strafe on Halo 5. The way to do this is by pressing your crouch down, and waiting for your Spartan to hit their lowest point, and coming back up and bobbing your head in a rhythmic path every half a second or so. If you end up doing this wrong, you'll perform what we call a Band of Brothers crouch strafe. This phenomenon happens when the person pressing the crouch button spams the crouch without letting the Spartan go all the way down. This is more of a teabag than an actual strafe. If this ends up being the strafe you try to hit your opponent with, you will look stupid and you will die in your stupidity. Grab strafing is something not a lot of players do, but it's a very unexpected strafe to do apart from the crouch strafe. When your opponent sees that you put a crouch into your strafe, they will try and predict the strafe by aiming where your head will pop up when you come out of that crouch. With the crab strafe, you stay down the entire time and strafe side to side. Pair this with a thrust, and you have a very effective strafe to defeat opponents, even if they shoot you in the back. I mentioned this earlier in the clambering section when I said that clamber could be used in gunfights. This is a simple mechanic that you can do mid-gunfight to throw off someone's reticle placement. To do this action, you simply drop off an object and then reclamber the object. Once you understand the aim assist of this method, gunfighting is fairly easy to hit shots. Pair your drop back with a thrust, and the enemy may come out of a gunfight looking very confused about what just happened to them. Super Spartan charging is a manipulation of the momentum mechanic we discussed earlier. If you have the brackets around your reticle, it means you can Spartan charge. You know from the section previously discussed that momentum only goes away when the player gets rid of it. There is a way to keep this momentum even after you thrust, and then perform a Spartan charge directly after. If done right, this Spartan charge will have increased distance, even out of the Spartan charge's normal aim assist. This technique can also be done around corners and in any direction if you know how to handle the momentum. You do this by pressing your jump button, then your thrust, then your sprint while still in midair so you get your brackets back. And then once you have the brackets on your screen, you can complete the Spartan charge. To do this in different directions, you need to wait until the perfect moment to click your sprint button, and get your brackets in the direction you want to do the charge. You can only do this with the maintain sprint option off, so make sure you have it off in the settings. let's talk a little bit about challenging snipers. The Halo 5 sniper rifle is extremely easy to use on players with no idea how to counter it. If you let a sniper look at you for over a second, the average player is going to kill you. When you know the enemy team has a sniper and you want to peek a common line of sight, such as blue door on plaza, how should you challenge them? You wouldn't just walk out into the middle of blue door knowing they're there. That would get you killed pretty effortlessly, even if they didn't have a sniper rifle. If you know the general area of where a sniper is, you can challenge most of them by jumping out holding crouch and knocking them out of their scope. Once they're out of the scope, they may start to panic, and you can pistol them from across map if you have the range and accuracy necessary. Pyramid jumping, or kneecap jumping, is a mechanic used by high-tier movement players of Halo 5. It is done by using your thrust at a specific time in a jump to where your kneecaps bounce off an object and send you on an arced path through the air. When doing this jump, remember to press your thrust right before your Spartan touches the object, not when you are touching it. On the specific jump and bottom dip, you need to hold your jump after you've pressed your thrust into the kneecap jump, as it is the case with a few kneecap jumps in the game. But for most, you only need to press your thrust and let the momentum carry you. The only thing to be wary about when doing this is the fact that you may be exposed and unable to move until you make it where you want to be. If you get shot in the back while doing this jump, there is little to no chance of getting out alive. Many players don't realize how strong the Halo 5 assault rifle really is. The bullets of the AR have 0 damage drop-off, meaning that as long as you understand the range the AR can effectively be accurate, you can beam from a very long distance. The AR only takes 2 shots to the head when a Spartan has no shield, making this an easy weapon to re-challenge someone with if you're both down 1 shot in a fight. Hop a quick sprint into a slide and a jump, and mow the other Spartan down with the AR as they desperately try to hit a pistol shot, point blank. Shield stalling is an advanced mechanic that few players use, but you'll see this used often by top tier players. A shield stall is when you stop or stall a player's shield regeneration through an unpredictable timed shot in a gunfight. If you do this at the correct time, the player may re-challenge you with weaker shields because they think they have regained most of their HP and are okay to attempt another challenge. If they do this realizing that they've been stalled, they are still at a disadvantage and are free to be pushed with ease. This is a term me and a few friends came up with. It is done by baiting the radar in order to get into the other player's head and coerce them to make a dumb play. Radar sharking can be done in player and team arena and pretty much any playlist that has a radar. You sprint under the player in a playlist that has radar, and the player attempts to drop on you and get a seemingly easy kill. Then, like a piece of bait falling into a swarm of sharks, the player is eaten alive. Thought you were playing a Halo game? Nah, this is Tekken 7. Double meleeing is a mechanic that can be done in any game mode as long as Spartan charge is enabled and maintain sprint is turned off in settings. You can do this by sprinting to max speed, jumping, pressing the crouch 1 time, meleeing, YYing, pressing your sprint button, and then clicking the melee again. You have to do this all while you're in midair the first time you jump. This works because the game registers your first melee even as you press your YY, and the YY animation allows you to cancel your melee, which allows you to start your animation of sprinting while you're still in the air, exactly like a Super Spartan charge does. In the end, it should look like this. And yes, your opponent will think you're cheating. Last on the list is an advanced mechanic some players at the highest level use. This mechanic is called start glitching. How you do this is by getting a running start.
Whoa!
Whoa, what? Yeah, so I guess we're just not going to do the start glitching section of the guide. I truly hope this guide helps you in your journey to improvement. If you want to ask me any kind of questions, I'm always open to helping you guys out. Just DM me either on Discord, message me on Xbox, or leave a comment on the video. To someone like me, there's nothing more rewarding than seeing someone that I taught go from a low rank to a champ rank in a few months. Most people are capable of getting to a high rank in Halo, and it's just their own self keeping them from doing it. I try to show you guys the mechanics of high tier players and the mindset you need to get in to contend with those players. I can give you all the tools, but if you don't practice or have a drive to get better, you're not going to get anywhere. Take some time and learn what I've shown you. Some of it's more difficult than it looks, and some of the things that look difficult is actually fairly easy with some practice. Take mental notes of the plays you do in ranked and how they either work or don't work. Break your old bad habits like Piggy thrusting and Piggy jumping. Don't lie to me. I know you've been doing it all these years. I'm going to link my Discord and my Twitch stream in the description below at the top. Join the Discord and chat with me. Anyways, I have spent an ungodly amount of time making this guide, and I am proud to put it out, and it's time for me to go. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hold on. Did I just see that right? You just watched me do that whole section in that whole video, and you watched me say hit the like button, and you're actually not gonna hit it? Motherfucker, look at me. I've been a caveman. Look at this. Look at my beard. The whole week I've been here editing this shit. Editing a Halo 5 guide in 2021. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe, or I'm gonna have to come find you. I'm
I don't really like the magazine down
Zoom
there.
back in, Ceige. Zoom back in. Trying to get different angle.
Wait, I can do this fucking faster. Punishment on you. Fuck. You are dead.
Finger shoot
Because
this
you
right
are
here.
dead.
So close.
Are you
What?
in the cinema
You're not
mode?
shooting it. Hello?
Oh.
Thank you for your help. I appreciate both of you a lot. No, dude.
Very good. You're welcome.
Alright, that's it.